Hello, friends, and welcome to the Handyman Success Podcast. Our mission is to teach and inspire by sharing the stories and insights of our guests. Whether you're a prospective, new, or seasoned handyman business owner, you will learn practical business tips you can apply today and be inspired that you can reach your goals and create a better tomorrow. I'm one of your hosts, Jason Call, owner of Handyman Marketing Pros. We equip small, family-owned handyman businesses with modern websites and SEO to help grow their businesses online. I'm joined by my co-host, Alan Lee, who has built his handyman business to a point where it runs without him. He now teaches others, step by step, how to do the same thing through his Handyman Journey business coaching. You can learn more about our marketing and coaching services by scheduling a call with us on handymansuccess.net. So whether you're patching drywall, sitting in the office, or making your third run to Home Depot, we invite you to pull up a chair and sit with us on another episode of the Handyman Success Podcast. Today, we are joined by Carrie with Handy Mother Fixer in Toledo, Ohio. And I also want to make a note for our listeners. Thank you so much for joining with us over the last 3 years. It's been 3 years since we started the podcast. And so today we're super thrilled to have Carrie with us, our third handy woman that we've interviewed on the show. Carrie, thank you so much for joining with us today. If you don't mind, just give us a little snapshot of your handy woman business. Like I know you're in Toledo, Ohio, but like what kind of services do you focus on? Just give us a little snapshot of you and your business.
Okay, thank you for having me. I've officially been in business since January of 2023. I've been doing home remodeling for about 28 years now, all in all, but just officially started in January of last year.
Awesome. So your focus is more on like remodeling or like the larger handyman services rather than like the quick in and out kind of jobs. And I know you mentioned you kind of recently had that as a bigger focus over the last month or two. You made that change?
Yeah, so last year I started out doing more of the handyman type jobs, a couple hours, half day jobs, and realized I don't really enjoy doing that. I'd much rather do jobs that are 2+ days long. So starting this year, I decided to have the focus of more of the larger jobs. And so this year, my focus is going to be more on roofing jobs, kitchen remodels, bathroom remodels, that sort of thing.
Okay, cool. And not to just get in the weeds right away, because we'll certainly take a step back and kind of learn about how you started and what prompted you to open your business, et cetera. But what about the bigger jobs has led you to that change? Did you just didn't enjoy the smaller ones as much? You made more money off the bigger ones. If you can kind of walk through your process and kind of identifying that you prefer the larger handyman contractor jobs.
The thing that got me was probably the driving around, the picking up materials, getting everything out of the van, setting up and cleaning up. I just feel like I'd rather get into the job and be working on the job and have more straight production hours. And for me personally, just the way that I work, I feel like that those were the bigger money makers for me. I was finding more success with the bigger jobs than with the smaller jobs. And it could be I wasn't bidding them correctly. I don't know, but I just found myself enjoying the larger jobs a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Good to
Awesome.
identify that and be honest with yourself too. So I know a lot of people, they'll just stick with what they're doing, even though they don't like it. So it's good to kind of check in with yourself on what you enjoy and what makes you money. Because I personally think that everyone has their own preference. I've talked with so many people that have moved from big jobs to, I just want to do handyman jobs. I just way less stress. I make more money. And then I've heard the same number of people be like, I'm tired of the small jobs. I don't make any money. I make the money on my big job. So it comes down, I think, from my experience, a lot of preference and what you're kind of innately set up and enjoy doing.
Right.
Yeah. So Carrie, you say you've been doing home remodeling for 28 years. Like what does that look like? And then what caused you to kind of launch this thing full time in January of 2023? Like what was that transition like? And so what's that 28 years of home remodeling first off?
So when I was 19 years old, I started working at a roofing company, actually as a secretary. And I started going out with the guys doing roof repairs and that sort of thing. And that lasted for a little while. Then I started working with a roofing crew. And then by the time I was 21, I was actually running my own roofing crew and partnered up with a couple different guys. And that was probably about 10 years where I did that as my basically full-time job. I also worked on rental properties on the side. I had bought my first house in that time, and this is before you could look anything up on YouTube. I was just watching HGTV, tearing stuff apart in my house, just figuring out how to put it back together, just learning as I go. The best place to learn is at your own house. Bought a house to fix up and flip during that time, so I learned from that too. And then I decided after about 10 years of doing that, I'm like, I need to get a real job, quote unquote real job. Like I can't keep doing this. And this just tells you about my mindset at that point in time, where I didn't really consider myself having an adult grown up job doing these sort of things. It was more just kind of like side job here, side job there. So I went back to
Right.
school and got my early childhood education degree and became an elementary school teacher. During the summers, I would do roofing jobs for just people that I knew, 2-3 jobs every summer, just for something to do. Bought another house, and when I bought my second house, it was torn up when I bought it. It was basically about down to the studs. The person that had it before me didn't run anything correctly. I had to have an inspector come out to get the electricity turned on. He said, since the electricity was off for over a year, they had to come out and inspect it. Somebody had covered up with drywall over all new. I had to tear all the drywall down while the electrical was run incorrectly. So then I had to tear all the electrical out. So my second house had to run all new electrical, all new plumbing supply lines, all new drain lines, all new insulation, all new drywall, all new flooring, new roof, new windows, new siding, actually put an addition on it. So basically it was pretty much new and was pulling permits all along the way. So, knew what the codes were for all the different areas. And because I was the homeowner doing the work as my own job, I was able to pull all the permits myself and they got all inspected. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot doing that. And that house I worked on for a year and 3 months before I could actually move into it. And that's while I was going to school.
Wow.
To become a teacher. Then, so I taught for 9 years, and I was teaching at a charter school, and they didn't renew our charter, so our school closed back in 2019. So, mind you, I was, doing side jobs and stuff in the summer, nothing major. And then when the school closed, I had to really decide what I want to do. Do I want to renew my teaching license? Do I want to work in another school? What do I want to do? Well, while I was trying to figure out what to do, side jobs just started coming in. Different jobs from different people. Oh, and actually, while I was still teaching at the school, I did put a second addition on my house. That was so I had like an 812 pitch on my house, and then tore the rafters and everything off the back to make a 112 to make a master bedroom and master bathroom in the upstairs. And then a couple years after that, I put another bathroom in the basement where I tore out all the concrete, put in a sewage ejection pump, ran all the lines underground and everything for that bathroom. So I've learned a lot about plumbing for sure, doing all these different additions on
Is
my
this your
house.
current house that you're in?
Yeah, this is my current house.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
in.
Very cool.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
I put so much time into this house. I don't know if I could move. I want more property, but
It's
it's
your
hard.
baby.
I know everything about this house. So this is just like giving the history of how I've learned the home improvement, all the different aspects of home improvement was a lot on my own properties. So I don't want people to think, oh yeah, I just jumped into it and I'm going to do this and do that. And I do learn a lot on people's jobs. Trust me, I don't know everything, but this is giving me a good base knowledge for, where we're coming to here. So once the school closed, I had to figure out what I wanted to do. Side jobs were coming in, and we actually had a rental property that this was about 2020. We had a rental property. Tenants were moving out, and the market was hot at that point. I mean, it still is, but it was hot. And I got to thinking, I'm like, maybe I'll just fix that house up and sell it. So I ended up spending 9 months on that house and turned the basement into an efficiency apartment with full kitchen, full bathroom, laundry room, new roof on that house. We ended up taking a chimney down from above the second floor roof all the way down to the basement floor, opened up some walls inside, expanded the kitchen, I mean, it was nice. We way overdid the neighborhood for sure, but I learned a lot on that one too. So it's all these experiences, learning. So 2020, that sold that house. That was really good. I don't even want to figure out what I made per hour on that job because it's probably not. But I learned a lot. If you're not earning, you're learning, right? So
Hmm.
learned a lot from that. And then side jobs were coming in. I was doing things here and there. And then November 2022, somehow, some way, I came across the Handyman Journey Facebook page
Hmm.
and just joined that group, started reading the comments on that. And I had like a mindset shift to where maybe I really could make this work as like a career, as a real job, as not just a side job, as legit business. So,
Hmm.
and it was reading those comments over probably, I don't know, 3, 4 weeks to get my mind to switch. And I'm just like, I'm going to do this. And I set my mind to it and I'm like, I think, I think that I can make this work. I really do. It's going to be a challenge for sure, but I think that I can make this work. So that would have been November of 2022. And at the end of December of that year to beginning of January, I got my LLC, finally got liability insurance, created the website, tried to learn everything about business because I really didn't know anything about business at all. Ordered t-shirts, got lettering for my van. I did already have a work vehicle, so that was nice. Set up my Google business page, set up a Facebook page, joined the Chamber of Commerce, read the Profit First book, read the E-Myth Revisited book, read the Handyman Sales Handbook, read the Profit First for Contractors, the Markup and Profit, the Handyman Pricing Handbook. Like I was trying to soak it all in, trying to learn everything I possibly could because I was thinking, if this is going to work, this is going to be the calm before the storm. And I have this time now and I need to use it. I need to soak up all the knowledge I can to be as prepared as I possibly can. So I just tried to set myself up to where I could do it. And because when I was as a working as a roofing subcontractor, I was working under a licensed contractor, and because I was working under him for at least 5 years, I was able to submit documentation and register to take the test. So I became a licensed home remodeling contractor. That would have been in January of 2023 when everything was getting going. So was that was nice to be able to put on my website that I was licensed and had insurance, licensed and insured. Um, so that kind of brings us to when it started. So that's basically the history in a nutshell of the business.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing all that, Carrie. You got a lot of experience here. I can see how, your experience also tailors to the bigger jobs and remodeling to like I know in your website you mentioned just meeting people's vision. So it sounds like you've had a lot of experience building your own vision. Um,
Yes.
one note that you had there at the end was the contractor's license or remodeling contractor license. And sometimes people ask in the group, or I get this question, I'm sure Alan, you do, like, should I get my GC license or whatever that looks like in your area? And I always tell people if you got the time and you like doing bigger jobs or you don't want to worry about going over limits like in California, you can kind of get in trouble with some of that. So I always tell people, hey, if you've got the experience and can just take a test and knock it out, like it's a good thing to have in your pocket. And also, like you said too, build some trust and confidence with people before they work with you. Even if you're just doing small jobs, it's kind of nice to have.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
to do roofing jobs, you have to pull a permit. So that I'm able to pull permits for roofing jobs too. And since roofing is actually my favorite thing to do, just because I did it for so long, I know it. I know how to bid it. There's not too many things that are going to show up that I haven't seen before. I can't do it every day, all year anymore. It's just too hard on my back and on my knees. But
Mhm.
I just love doing it. So I definitely wanted to get the license just to be able to pull the roof permits.
Hmm. Love it. Love it. And as far as business, do you have any team members, any employees that work with you or subcontractors, or what's that look like?
So my brother started with me in March of last year. So I started getting some jobs I don't think I did any jobs in January last year. February, I think it started, and then in March, I talked to my brother and asked him if he wanted to join me. So ever since then, my brother's been working with me every day. I mean, 99% of the time, I'm not out at a job without him.
That's pretty cool. And is that is he a part owner? Is that a W-2 employee or 1099 or what's that
He,
look like?
he's actually 1099.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, if you could, I guess let's pull it out before we kind of go into the details of pricing and marketing and estimating, all that stuff. If you don't mind kind of giving us some snapshot as far as your numbers for like revenue you did in the first year, like what are your goals this year? If you don't mind kind of sharing that to give our listeners a little snapshot there.
Okay. So last year, 2023, my total revenue was 186,000. And 95,000 of that would have been profit. That's after paying subcontractors and materials.
Mhm.
This year, I'm on track to do probably about the same, about 200,000 for the year, but profit looks like it's going to be a little bit more. Last year I had 1,074 billable hours and averaged $88 an hour. This year I'd like to have that average per hour to be more like 110, 115. Right now I'm at 157 an hour for this year, which I'm
Awesome.
very, very happy with, but I only do my roofing. I try to only do my roofing in the spring and in the fall. So I'm right now I'm coming off of 4 straight weeks of roofing. So
And
I've done
that's
it for so long. Like that's definitely a moneymaker for me.
Yeah.
It kind of sways my averages up a little bit with the roofing.
So if you do the roofing in the spring and the fall, what do you focus on during the summer?
Well, right now I'm in the middle of a big deck repair, lots of
Mhm.
deck board replacement, painting it, metal railing, new stairs, that sort of thing. I've got 4 bathrooms set up I'm going to be doing. I do have one more roof job I have to do in June. Um, I've got another deck repair, big deck repair. I've got a job that has a bunch of rotten wood around the house. It's got wood siding and things. I'm going to do that. I have a big flooring job set up. Backsplash. I do quite a few kitchen backsplashes. Um,
Mhm.
so those are the jobs I have set up now. I've got some estimates out for some kitchens. Hopefully I'll get another kitchen. I think I did 2 or 3 kitchens last year. Um, and maybe a couple roof repairs. Roof repairs I will do over the summer, and those are probably the only smaller jobs that I really don't mind doing is the roof repairs.
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay.
Thanks so much for sharing your numbers too, by the way, Carrie. And I think it's a great example of like you obviously know your numbers to be able to come up with your exact like here's my labor hours I did last year, like 1,087 or whatever. Because when you have those numbers to all the listeners, like you can actually make informed decisions about your pricing and about your services offered, and you understand you are more profitable doing roofing because that's your experience and your
Mm-hmm.
efficiency is probably inherently there. So I just commend you for really having a good pulse on your numbers, because you'll just be able to make tweaks and improvements by understanding what the heck's actually going on in your business. Um, One question kind of related to numbers is how booked out are you right now?
Right now I'm over 3 months. Book it out,
Wow.
and
Okay.
I'm
Cool.
booking into August right now. And I tell people I'm like I'm just letting know I'm not sure what your time frame is on when you want to get this done. People aren't going to know what month it is when they're listening, but I'm like I'm 3 months booked out right now. So if you're
Mhm.
willing to wait, I'll be happy to give you an estimate. About 75% of them say that's okay, I can wait. So they want the estimate. So
Mhm.
if they're willing to wait, that's fine. It's hard. It's hard. Last year was really hard for me to be honest about how far behind I was because I didn't want to lose potential clients. And now it's like the mindset is changed. I know the calls will keep coming in. I know the work will keep coming. If they're willing to wait, then wonderful. If not, then they're not my client.
Mhm. Love
Um,
it.
related question to this too is I love it. It definitely is like a training exercise of learning to share news that people don't want to hear, right? Of
Yeah.
like I can't get to you for 4 months, and so
Yeah.
it is an experience, and I love the 2 words, know thyself, like know what your goals are, know what you can do, and say things that are true. And I'm booked out 4 months, that's what it is. But is your goal, like, are you by design staying smaller with you and your brother? Would you like to bring someone on? Like, what are your thought processes on like your business growth and your goals?
Honestly, I keep going back and forth because I'm, turning down work, and I don't know if it's healthy to be 3 months behind. If I were to bring someone else on, if I were to get another truck and get somebody else in another truck, it's very hard for me to trust somebody else to go out to a job. And what if they run into something? They don't know what to do. Am I supposed to pull off another job and go help them? I'm having a very hard time with it and trying to decide where I do want it to go. I honestly think it could be like women being handy women. I think people
Mhm.
want that. I've experienced it. People do want that. Um, I don't know. It's hard because I just can't do it all myself. I would need to take the
Yeah.
steps to do that, but then it's like, what is my goal? How, like, is it about the money? Is it about the time? Is it like, I don't know. I just keep going back and forth, and I'm just kind of still not sure what I really want to do.
Yeah. One thing that comes to my mind, Carrie, is what if you brought on someone else, right now with you and your brother,
Hmm.
and that person eventually the goal would be they would replace your brother as of your helper, and you
Hmm.
would hire your brother as, say, a project manager, and then
Hmm.
he would bring on another person. So, and he would go off and kind of start because he's kind of already somewhat trained, how you work and things like that. He could fit right into kind of a managerial role. And while he's still working with you, you bring in someone else, train them up to kind of take his place. So that new person's helping you out, and then you bring in a new person to help your brother out, and you can kind of grow from there. At least that's how I kind of see this organic
Yeah.
growth. But it is a question of like, what do you want? Because growth isn't for everyone. Our last podcast episode with AJ, that guy, he's got a great, government job, and he strictly just does the handyman work part-time, and that's freedom to him. That's success to him. So it's like success doesn't always have to look like making 2, 3, $4 million a year. It's literally whatever makes you happy,
Right.
and it's
Right.
coming up with that for yourself. That's the hard part.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's what I need to figure out. Like, what's the goal? What's my end goal? Like, what do I really want? And it's something I've been toying back and forth about for a few months now. Like, and I think it'll work itself out. I'm just not sure where it's gonna go, but something
Mhm.
will work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I'll figure out
I
Yeah.
what's important.
I appreciate your honesty in that, Carrie. I think a lot of people are scared to say like I don't know. And something that I share with my team all the time is like, guys, I'm trying to figure all this out too. Like, we're all like moving forward and trying to navigate our problems, issues, and balancing that with growth, and also balancing that with like what do I actually want as the owner. And so it's good to be honest about like what you feel, and like I don't know what this looks like, and I believe that I'm going to keep on my course now, and things will start to I'll get more clear with time. So I don't think that you necessarily have to have like an answer of like, well, by the end of next year I'd like to have three, like 2 or 3 crews. Because if you just don't fuel that, it's not apparent, then why make that even a goal? So
Right.
I commend your honesty, because every business owner, whether they want to admit it or not, there's so much discomfort and unknown and confusion of like, what do I even want? What's my next step? But I do like Alan's idea practically. If your brother is super, like basically just on par with you as skill, and we won't make you declare that publicly. Don't worry. Whether your brother's as good as you, but to have essentially splitting you guys with helpers, 2 different crews. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, we're all trying to figure this out together as we go, and there's nothing wrong with not knowing, because I think most people are in the same boat.
Yeah. I think the thing that I do know is I really enjoy being on the job and working. So for
Mhm.
me, I don't think that I would ever want to be in a role where I'm just supervising or going job to job. I just don't think that I would enjoy doing something like that. So that's one thing that I do know. But
Mm-hmm. It's
And
good.
that's shared by most people too. I know, at least from our experience working with folks, is like 60 to 70% are solo owner operator or keep it really small by design because they
yeah.
enjoy being on the field. They enjoy helping all these different people with their home improvements. And I think that's just a characteristic that's natural to handy people is they love to help. And when they get stuck in an office, it's like, this isn't what I signed up for.
Mm-mm. No, no, especially in the springtime when it starts getting nice outside and you're stuck inside. I'm just like, oh, I want to get outside.
That's awesome. So what do you do to market your business? Like how do you get clients?
Um, Honestly, right now I don't do anything. The only advertising I've ever done was last year, maybe February, March, and April. I think I advertised on Nextdoor. I may have
Mm-hmm.
gotten one job maybe from it, and then I canceled that. And I ask people how they got my name, and anytime that I ask people, they either say they ended up at my website or they read my Google reviews.
Mm. Interesting. I mean, it's you have one thing going for you that while you were a school teacher, you were doing these side jobs on the side, right? And then
Right.
you would say when things kind of hit the fan, side jobs just kept coming. So I think
Yeah.
that you have a lot of people just buzzing like, hey, this gal Carrie, she does roofs in the summer. Give her a call, you know? So
Yeah.
I think that you probably still have some snowball effect from even just that, which is huge.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to guess right now, as far as this year, maybe 50-50 right now, where the referrals and then 50% are coming off the um somehow finding me online.
Yeah, Google My Business, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, you've got an awesome I love the personality that you have in your Google and your website because if you look up like for our listeners if they Google like Handy Mother Fixer LLC in Toledo, Ohio, like your cover photo on Google, the most visible one, it's you in front of your work vehicle, bright smiley face behind the business. When they click over to your website, they see that same photo, professional service licensed, etc. I think you've got a really fantastic personable foundation that builds trust and confidence with people. Also, I most like most clients that handymen and handy women work with are the female in the house, and so I imagine that there's an inherent kind of draw and benefit of having a handy woman, a handy mother that someone feels comfortable having in their home.
Yeah, and when I was trying to figure out what the business name should be, I was brainstorming reasons why people would have me do the work, why they want me, why would they would trust me, and I just kept coming back to that I was a female and that I'm a mother. I think that that's what people really like, and so I tried to incorporate that into my name and also not so serious. And the reason why
Yeah.
the reason why the name is so funny is because I do not swear at all. And people are like, that is so funny. That is so
Yeah.
funny that that's your name because that is so not you. I'm like, well, it's just people people will stop. I'll be driving down the road and we'll pull up to a stop sign. People will point at the lettering on the van. I love it. I love your name. I love it. I'm like, oh, thanks.
Mother Fixer.
That's funny. That's awesome. It's funny when you have like a pun in your name and people just say it and then all of a sudden they get it. And they're like people do that to me all the time. They're like, "Oh, honestly, I get it. I get it. Honestly." Like it's just so funny. Like when people,
Yeah,
so I can
yeah,
see people saying the same thing about yours.
yeah.
Like, that's an interesting name, Handy Mother Fixer. Oh, I get it. Okay.
Yeah, and it was just like I don't know, maybe like a month ago. My son, he's 18, and we started saying something about my name, and he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Don't you get it?" And it took him a minute. He's like, "Oh, I never even thought about that."
He's like, Mother. Mother. I can't believe
Yeah.
you, mother.
It's probably just because he knows me and like doesn't associate that, like that wouldn't even put it
Yeah.
together, you know?
It didn't click for me instantly, but whenever it did click, it's very creative. I think it's really good branding. So overall, like when we bring it back to the original question, marketing, you've got a very strong foundation of a good brand, website, a Google profile, great reviews, and just obviously you do quality work. So people are kind of drawn to your brand organically. It's like a snowball effect. People start sharing your name, and your referrals and repeat business starts, shadowing or overcoming your new business, your new clients. So I think that you've done a really great job, whether you know it or not, of building a really shareable, approachable brand with Handy Mother Fixer.
Yeah, thank
Hmm.
you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, you
Love
bet.
it.
You bet.
So
So
I'd,
how,
I'd love to hop into like a little bit of your estimating process and how you do that. Like that's a big thing that a lot of people talk about is like, how do you actually find time to go out and give estimates to people because you're fixing people's houses, right?
Yeah.
So how do you work that out? How do you give estimates?
So I don't get as many calls as someone that probably does handyman work. If I had to guess, the people that are getting a hold of me, whether through my website or emailing me, texting me, calling me for an estimate, I would say maybe 5 calls, 5 contacts a week, I would say. And then after I tell them how backed up I am, maybe 3 or 4 of them I'm actually setting up.
Mhm.
Um, every once in a while I'll do an estimate just by pictures, but because it's mostly bigger jobs, like the majority of them are bigger jobs, I can't do them over pictures, and I still don't charge for estimates. So I'll set up, um like next week I'll set up like 3 of them on Monday night, 2 of them on Wednesday night, and I'll just try and do them on Monday nights or Wednesday nights as long as the homeowner's available. And it's just what I'm doing. I don't have a better system right now, but the estimates do take a long time because they're bigger jobs. Now, roofing estimates, I can get those done quick because those are easy. You're just bidding by the square. But a kitchen and a bathroom takes a little bit longer.
hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so when you get like a roofing job, do you use like Google Earth to measure out the roof square foot,
You,
or how do
the
you figure
roofing
that?
jobs that I'll do now are all ones that I can walk on. I don't have the crew or the equipment
Okay.
to do anything steep anymore. So when I go out to bid a roofing job, I'll get up on the roof and actually measure it with a tape measure. If for
Mm-hmm.
some reason I need to use Google Earth, I will use Google Earth. But
Mm-hmm.
I usually can get a roofing estimate out to them the very next day because it's pretty quick. Now, the other estimates, finding time to do them has been a little tricky. I try not to work on the weekends if at all possible. But my weeks are pretty full with, being on the job and then trying to get all the paperwork done because I'm doing all the paperwork as far as recording everything too.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I'll spend an hour to 2 hours probably on, a kitchen or bathroom estimate.
Okay. Okay.
I'd say too,
And
come up with like as far as like Monday or Wednesday evenings, that's kind of what's worked for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think anything that's consistent and systematized, even if you're not sure that's the final thing, that's best because you can compartmentalize in your head, like, okay, well, I know Monday, Wednesday evenings, I'm doing my estimates. And as
Mm-hmm.
long as it's consistent, because I think a lot of handyman business owners, they're just in this constant tornado of work, estimates, admin stuff. And when you actually create set times and of the week to do something, it kind of frees you from that. So, I think anything that's just repeatable, it's totally fine. It can be updated as long as it's repeatable week in, week out, because it allows you to kind of have some level of mental clarity, in that process.
Yeah, and the estimates are getting a little faster. Last year when I was first starting out, the estimates took a lot longer, a lot of research, a lot of trying to figure out. But I'm definitely getting a lot faster and knowing to put in extra for, unseen things. That
mm-hmm.
definitely, it's just like a weight lifted off your shoulders. Okay, this is fine. If I run into this, it's okay. It's already in the estimate. I have already accounted for it. So that's been a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Awesome. And how about pricing jobs? I know that you've been doing this for many, many years on the side too, but like since starting this up like full time, has your pricing changed at all from January of 2023 to where it is now? And kind of what were those numbers and how have they shifted?
Yeah, when I first started, I was at 75 an hour. And
Hmm.
then I went up to 100 and then 115. And right now I'm at 145.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And do you charge by the hour or do you charge by the job? And like that's just the number that you need to
Oh,
know.
yeah. My
Yeah.
estimates are just one number, labor and
Right.
materials. Like, no, nobody knows what my hourly rate is. And when I'm bidding, say, a kitchen job or a bathroom job or something, I'll try and chunk it into main things that need to be done. And then I kind of go back to the way, kind of like the handyman type pricing is, where I'll say, okay, that's going to take 2 hours, or I bet that takes 4 hours or a half a day, or that particular thing is going to take a day. And if I chunk it like that and then add it up, I know my daily rate. That's how I kind of get like my labor price.
Mm-hmm.
Now with tile, with backsplashes, I'll charge by the square foot, as long as there's nothing crazy, and then add per outlet. Um, Hopefully one day I'll get shower surrounds down to the square foot pricing based on what tile it is. Um, but there's so many unique situations that it's not always easy to do that.
So you said that you charge for roofs, you charge them by the square foot. How does that equate to when you're all done with the job, that $145 an hour? Does it end up coming close to that, or where do you end
Uh,
up on that?
yeah, I'll always make more than 145 on roofing jobs per
Mhm.
hour when I figure out how many hours. And I always make sure to mark down how many hours were on the job. Every single job I've ever been on, I always mark down how many hours were on the job, so I can always keep track. And like
Mhm.
last year, I kept track. Roofing was my number one moneymaker per hour. Least least profitable job by hour, drywall. Drywall always takes longer than what I think it's going to take. Always, always,
And
always.
is it just because the going rate for roofing is higher than anything else, or what kind of stance, or you could just do it quicker? Is that the main reason?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty quick at it because I've done it for so
Mhm.
long.
Mhm.
Um, I just know all the little, tricks, and it's just something that I've done for so long that I can do it faster than like if somebody were to bid the same job per square what I were to bid, but they done, a handful of roofs, they're not going to be able to get it done as fast as what I could get it done.
Okay.
So
Good.
Yeah. Yeah,
Good.
roofing's a pretty productized home improve or home service. It's hard to call it a home service, but I mean that's why there's so many big companies spending, millions of dollars nationwide on marketing, and there's just a price that people expect to pay, and when big companies get super efficient, they can just fit within that expected price range. But then someone who's experienced like yourself, it's a great moneymaker. And then you balance it with the guys that, you can spend, a few $1,000s to get a roof, but it's kind of like, it's not gonna be done right. So it's more productized kind of um, home improvement area. And that's why there's so much competition, because it's, compared to a handyman business, it's just you walk in, it's so much problem solving, critical thinking, figuring things out, unique estimates. Roofing, it's very attractive from a business standpoint because it's by the square foot and you just rip it off and put a new one on. So it's very
yeah,
different than the handyman trade.
and I
Um,
don't have I don't have the overhead that all the big companies have,
yeah,
so I can I can be right there at the lower end of the pricing and still be all right.
yeah. So you mentioned like 145 is kind of like the hourly rate that you bake into your estimates and stuff. And I love that. Let's see, last year, if I recall correctly, you came out about 85, $90 an hour, like your actual. And then this year your goal is to be close to that 110, 115. So 145, it kind of like pads you for the maybe the extra drywall that you might have to do. It's gonna take longer.
Yeah, well that's also including like paying my brother. So the 115 would be after I would pay
Gotcha.
labor, but I add him in when I'm bidding it at the 145.
Gotcha. Okay, makes sense.
Hey friends, pardon the interruption of this episode, but I wanted to let you know that we are just a few days away from the launch of our brand new book, The Handyman Freedom Formula. Right now, this book is available on Amazon for pre-order, but it will be launching on July 4th, Independence Day, and I'm super excited about it. I wanted to read you a little excerpt that will give you an idea of what this book is about. Mindset is the very foundation of living an abundant life. If you simply believe in your potential, you will be amazed by what you can achieve. That's a quick little sentence, but if I had to sum it up in a nutshell, that is what I would say this book is all about. This book is about addressing what type of mindset you have when it comes to business, when it comes to life, when it comes to growth, when it comes to finances, addressing what that mindset is, how to overcome that, and how to achieve all the results that you want to achieve, and ultimately how to make an impact in this world that is beyond just what you are doing on a day-to-day basis. So if you are interested in that, head over to Amazon right now and pre-order your copy of the Handyman Freedom Formula so this thing gets in your hands on July 4th. All right, friends, let's get back to today's awesome episode of the Handyman Success Podcast.
Is there anything that like you're doing in your business to be like more efficient in any of that process, whether it is marketing, whether it is pricing, estimating, your actual on the job, like any kind of like tips or anything that you're doing that that help you be more efficient?
I would say one of the things that has helped the most of being efficient is my vehicle. And
Mm.
I've worked out of trucks, trucks with storage, trucks and trailers, minivans, cargo vans, you name it, I've worked out of it. And now I have one of those vans that has a 12-foot box on it with the organizers on the outside, where I have 8 organizers on the outside, and I also have ladder racks on the outside, and I can hang my ladder on the outside, hang my brake on the outside. I have the tube up top that I can put the long drip edge or whatever I need to up top. Every single bin on the outside is labeled. um you know we all know what goes in what compartment. The inside is all organized. I think that just makes all the difference in the world, because there's been so many times where it's like a fluke thing where I'm like, oh, I need this or I need that. And because I have that vehicle, it's right in the van, whether it be a tool or a material or whatever. Like, that has just helped so much having that. And plus, I don't have any really garage storage space. So that really
Mhm.
helps too, that I can, store a lot of stuff in that van. I mean, the gas mileage isn't great by any means, but it keeps us organized and keeps us efficient.
Yeah, one of my old employees had one of those big, ex-U-Haul box vans, and yeah, we used to call it the Napa Auto Parts on wheels. Like it just had whatever because like whatever you need, you can go to Napa Auto Parts and they have it, And so it was like when we were auto mechanics, we'd always go there. But like this van had everything, just there's in every nook and cranny, there's something. So those definitely come in handy for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So
Yep.
invest in a nice, just mobile setup that you can easily get to all your tools and understand where everything's at. That's kind of a good
Yeah,
tip
and
to have.
another thing I've been doing lately, and it was just something that was talked on the podcast. I think it was maybe a local, or not the podcast, the Zoom meetings. I think it was one of the local ones about encouraging customers to go to your website and fill out a contact form. So I never answer my phone during the day when I'm working, and honestly, it can be a couple days before I even call people back. I feel bad about it, but that's just the way it is. And so sometimes I'll call them or I'll text them and be like, can you please go to my website and fill out a contact form, or email me or text me. It's so hard for me to call people, and then when I get a chance to call them, it's too late, and I don't want people to get in the habit where they think that they can be contacting me after hours. So that has helped, because I can email anytime. And even if I'm working on a job, it's not going to take me away from the job to just send a quick email real quick. Whereas if I'm trying to talk to somebody on the phone, then I got to try and find a piece of paper to write something down. And, it just gets you out of your groove. So that has
Yeah.
helped too.
Cool.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that,
that's
that was one of the number one things that we talked about in the Handyman Marketing Handbook, was like creating that marketing funnel, especially as a solo operator. It's like, you got to get people away from calling you all the time, because if you're the one hammering all the nails and your phone keeps ringing, like that's going to severely cut your efficiency, and you're not able to get back with those people. So referring them to your online lead form is probably the best bet, because that either syncs to your CRM or just sends you an email, and then you can get back to it whenever you want,
Right.
And so that's the best way to do it for sure as a solo.
Yeah. And that if you ever wanted to like hire somebody or kind of like take the next level as far as like growth goes, then a great channel to get more sales is just answer the phone or have
Yeah.
someone do that for you. It's a big opportunity.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Because yeah, a lot of people have that problem. And actually, by the time this episode's released, we might have Alan and I are building a CRM that's really
Hmm.
geared towards family-owned small handyman businesses.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, one of the features is going to be
Yeah.
miss a call. Like if you miss a call, we can just send them a text message to drive them to the website, or at least kind of keep in touch with that lead, because it is one of the biggest not pitfalls, but it's just one of the biggest opportunities for most small family and handyman businesses that it's just hard to answer the phone when you're in the field. And so
Yeah.
anyway, we're super stoked to be able to kind of have some things that can help kind of your average, handyman, handywoman business in this case.
Mhm.
So that should be Handyman Champion will be out maybe by July 1st here. So
Yeah.
Handyman Champion, everybody. Shameless self plug. It is our podcast.
Well, from what I've heard, people want it. People want it.
Yeah. It's funny. We haven't really been talking about it much, but it's a lot of people know about it, which is amazing. And it's like, so pretty cool. People need a CRM built by handyman for handyman. And
Yeah.
that's what we're working on. It's got some pretty cool features coming up.
Yeah, you can at least miss your phone calls and not feel bad about it. At least, that'd be at least one little benefit. But anyway, so Carrie, as far like we got another like 5 or 10 minutes here.
Okay.
One question we always love to ask is like your biggest wins and also some losses in your handyman, handywoman journey here. So if you don't mind sharing, like what are some like highlight wins? And then also on the flip side of that, some losses or some bigger lessons that you've learned along the way.
Okay. I think one of the wins would be like I definitely had some doubts getting started, just being a female and wondering who, if it's not somebody that I know or a friend of a friend, like is a total stranger going to contact a female to have them come work at their house, especially a male. Like, do people really want that? I don't know. I don't know, but I'll tell you what, I have been pleasantly surprised. Like the amount of even just single males, like even older single males that completely trust somebody to be coming in, a female come in and work at their house. So that has been nice. That's been refreshing. That's been, a little weight lift off my shoulders of something that I thought was going to be an issue that turned out to kind of, I don't know. It's kind of worked out in my favor. I think, I think I've been pleasantly surprised.
So all the handy ladies listening, just go for it. You
Yeah.
can
Just do it.
We actually in our town, our electrician actually, it's a female electrician, and she is just the best, one of the best contractors I've ever worked with. I mean, just her level of like design and kind of in my, mostly she talks to my wife. I mean, she's wonderful. I think that there's some level of preference, even if there is an option to hire a female, especially from like my wife wanting to work with somebody, just that natural connection. And of course, women naturally are more emotionally intelligent, empathetic. So there's lots of really natural positive traits that people are attracted to in hiring a business that a handy woman would have.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. There's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of attributes that, Carrie, that you can bring to the table that I can't, it's like, and we talked about that, thinking about, what was that other one? Ladies Under Pressure. We interviewed
Lane.
Quite a while ago, but like they bring that customer service of kind of that female oriented customer service, which is pretty fantastic, something that I think a lot of people want.
I think it's hard for guys to be motherly. I mean, it's just like, and that is such a positive trait, and so naturally in your business name, Handy Mother Fixer, guys can't emulate a motherly feel. And what an amazing trait and characteristic you could have as a business, naturally to just impart that. It's cool that you had that fear. And then from your experience, it's like, why was I scared about that? That is a unique, benefit that I have that my competitors literally, it's not possible for them to be motherly.
Right.
That made me think, Jason, my son, right? Like one time he hurt his finger, and he was crying, and he goes up to my wife, and my wife's all like coddling him. I'm like, how's your finger? Like, do we need to cut it off? It's like, and he's like, no, so it's like the man, they're like, well, if it hurts, let's cut it off. I'm just kidding, obviously, but whereas the wife is more coddling, and it's just like, it's just a difference.
You're going to get a call from Child Protective Services after this is published.
Right. Yeah. Like, let's just put some super glue and some duct tape on that thing and keep going,
Awesome. Okay. So, so that's a win, or was that Learning
No,
experience.
So that was a little bit
that's
of both, but it, you know.
that's what's working well. That's what I've been pleasantly surprised about, for sure, for sure. And another thing I was worried about was, finding the customers that are willing to pay. And it's,
Mm.
everybody always says, well, that's not your customer, that's not your customer, that's not your customer. It's been nice that there are customers out there that are willing to pay, that
Mhm.
want things done a certain way, and those are your customers, and they're there and they will find you.
Cool. I actually love that as a question. We got to note this one. Like, what were you worried about when you started or
Yeah.
what worries have you had that ultimately were resolved from your experience and being like, why was I even worried about this?
Hmm.
Alan, I want to put you on the spot, man, because this is a fun question. I've never asked you this. What is like a big worry that you've had, even recently, that from your experience you don't it wasn't necessary?
Huh. That's
I
a
think
good
a lot
one.
of people struggle with like, I'm worried that people aren't going to pay 145 an hour. That's a really common worry when people
There's a
start.
there's a super, and it's really interesting because when you ask people this question, you learn more about them, and you're like, that person really, they struggle. Like we asked like similar question to this in our workout group the other day, and one guy who's he's a beast, man. Like he'll run circles around you. He works out super hard, is always super energetic, but he says he struggles with just like feeling adequate in life. He struggles with like self-esteem issues and things like you think like never. So one thing that I really struggle with, and it's interesting because I'm in the light a lot, I make YouTube videos and everything, but I struggle with imposter syndrome big time. Like I always struggle with like the thought of like, if I were them, I'd be like, who's this guy? Like who's this guy to talk to people about how to run a handyman business, or who's this guy to write a book? And so it's like I always struggle with that. That's something I struggle with still today. And even with my kids, like you tell them like, oh, don't do this. Like, oh, only if they knew when I was a kid, I did that many times. They'd be like, who are you? You've done this. Why can't I do it? So I don't know. That's one thing I struggle with.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, man. I know a lot of
Yeah.
business owners that's a common objection, or things that even people don't start their business because they're like, well, who's going to pay me that amount of money? Or, I can't do that. Like, who am I? I
Yeah.
don't have the
And
experience.
and and the only way, a little tip, the only way I've gotten over that is I still haven't gotten over it. There's a tip there, but the way that it's improved is just by doing it. So the more that you do, the more you get that self-confidence and you understand that you can do it. Maybe you're doing something a little bit different than something you've done 100 times in the past, but you can take your knowledge that you've learned and you can twist it a little bit and apply it to this new job and find success in it. Like I went to college for auto mechanics to be a mechanic, and I'm not an auto mechanic. I used to be, right? I was that for 10 years. But I still use the information that I learned from that college every single day because it's how to diagnose things, how to figure out how things should work, and how to take them apart and make them work better. And it's all that. And you just have to rely on your past knowledge and the wisdom that you've learned. Maybe you've done something wrong in the past, and you've learned through the years that that wasn't very wise to do. And now you're educating someone to not do that same mistake. And it's like, all you can do is tell them like, based on my 10 years of experience, I would recommend you not do that. And you just have to kind of stand firm with what you know or what you think you know, because at the end of the day, we all think we know stuff, but we all don't like know stuff. There's always someone that knows more than us. So we also have to come at life with a space of humility, knowing that even though we've been doing this for a while, we have experience, like we don't know it all, and we need other people to help us out. So I don't know if that answers your question, but just keep doing it. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing I would recommend to people.
Hmm. Love it. Yeah, actually, on our last episode too, our previous episode with the bulletproof handyman, he shared with us the quote from Teddy Roosevelt. So you guys have to check that out. But it's basically,
Mhm.
summary is just the fact that you're here and doing the work and running your business. Like, you're in what he describes as the arena. You're dirty, you're bloody, you're tired, you got tears. It's a struggle,
Mhm.
but you're in the arena and you have the control over, you're actually getting out there and doing it. There's a lot of value in that. It's in your power to fail or succeed, and to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, I love this question, man. We'll have to, thank you for sharing that, Carrie, or prompting the inspiration.
You're welcome.
So winding down here, our final question is, like some parting advice that you'd have for any new or prospective handyman or handy woman business owners. So anything that comes to mind as far as parting advice for those folks?
I would say your first year is going to be rough, like no matter what. Even though I had all those years before that, that first year, it was rough. I mean, it's still rough, but it's definitely easier now than it was that first year. There's so much that you don't know that you don't know. For me, especially, it was the business side of it. I didn't know anything about business. But you have to take chances to learn new things. If you're afraid, you don't want to do this certain job because you don't know how to do it. Like if you keep saying that, you're going to be very restricted in what you can do. You have to take chances. And I spent many hours and nights trying to learn something, the night before I'm going to do it the next day on the job. And it will take longer. It will take a lot longer the first few times you do it, but then you're going to kind of know what to expect the next time. And you just are going to have to take chances to expand what you can do and make it faster. And it goes back to that saying, and it's kind of a mindset of, if you're not earning, you're learning, and you have to embrace that at least your first year for sure, because it's going to take time, and you're probably not going to make what you want to make every job your first year for sure. I mean, I know I didn't. There was a lot of hours spent learning, making mistakes, doing things over again, many trips to the store, many hours on YouTube, that sort of thing. It's expected, and don't think it's not going to happen to you. It happens to everybody.
And it's funny, Carrie, that you mentioned that, because I know exactly where it come from. Like that first year is so hard, but looking back at that first year, like, man, I wouldn't have given that up for anything. And part of me is like, it would be really fun just to go back to those times. Like when you're just running around in a truck by yourself and it's 7:30 at night and you're going to Home Depot and you're just grabbing a hot dog because you're hungry. It's like, man, those are the days, man. You're just struggling, but you're having fun and you're just struggling.
Yeah.
So I've been there.
It's fun to think back on it while you're going through it. You might not feel that way, but
no, you don't. No,
you gotta live it. You gotta live it.
I remember, Alan, you would eat at McDonald's all the time because you would also do your estimates and admin work at McDonald's.
Yeah.
I
would bring a laptop.
Yeah, that first year, I 100% agree, and I share this with people all the time when they're new or just getting started. I'm like, there's this phase, I call it the new business hustle, and it's this first year that you're in business, and you've got to replace your income. You've got to establish an income that pays, serves you and your family, and I think it's the hardest phase. But it's a phase that when you get through it, and you have the grit and determination, you can look back and be like, wow, I learned a lot. I messed up just about every single thing I could possibly mess up, but I made it. And then you optimize. And like you're doing, it sounds like this year, that first full year, Carrie, you're kind of in the optimizing phase of just applying all the learning that you did last year. And I love how you just bluntly put it, like your first year is going to be difficult, and it's an enjoyable learning experience if you're up for the task.
I love it. Thank you so much for being on here, Carrie. You've been a blessing. I know that you've spoken some hope into individuals. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun. You're right. I totally forgot that we were even doing a podcast.
Yes.
All right, friends, that's a wrap of this episode of the Handyman Success Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on your journey in building a thriving handyman business. We would love to hear your thoughts on this episode. Whether you learned something new or you're facing challenges that you're just not quite sure how to deal with, we would absolutely love to hear from you. We would love it if you would leave us a review, drop us a comment, or hit that like button telling us that you liked this episode. By doing this, you truly help and support us in creating more of these podcast episodes to help change the handyman industry to to something amazing. And I want you to remember that you are not alone on this journey. Jason and I are here to help. If you need anything at all in regards to business or marketing, you can reach out to either Jason or I at handymansuccess.net. You can go over there right now and set up a free consultation call with either of us. We would absolutely love to talk with you. So thanks again for spending this time with us. And until next time, go out and be a blessing.